guys and gals, never hear from Drake Wayne Game, and some of you on Twitter, the Gaming Dragon. Today I'm coming back at you with a Let's Play episode of Kingsguard, Koshiro's Path. Now let's go ahead and jump right back into it, shall we? Alarm chain, you were up, and let's go. We're on the run. The last beastmen gone, you started a slow creep out of the garden, avoiding the beastmen shouting and running around. A few carried small buckets of water to douse the fire, but it had no effect on the raging inferno. The home was soon to be lost to the elements. You carefully snuck away when the coast looked clear and fled the scene, the house aglow behind you, filling the sky with ash. Ugh, Koshiro, please be alright. You rested your back in an alleyway, hand over your mouth in an attempt to silence your pained breaths, your eyes glancing from the shadow to the sky, looking around for any signs of movement. Despite your escape from the Elder's home, the bodyguards would eventually find no traces of your remains within that building, if they didn't already discover you had fled the scene. Yet for being a wanted prisoner in this village, you found little resistance getting around as far as you had. Surely by now you should have been caught, but you weren't exactly complaining either. I wish I knew where to go. Talk of this circle that Koshiro was taken to was on the forefront of your mind. Maybe it's like a village square, in the center of town. Wherever the hell that is. You couldn't recall anything like the location when you were venturing around with Koshiro early this morning. There was the bathhouse, the shrine, the farming fields. If only I had paid more attention, I might have been able to find some kind of landmark. This was not your home turf. You didn't know any shortcuts or even where you were. You were like a lost child separated from their parents. What? A rumbling sound like thunder reverberated through the quiet village. It was powerful, matching and resonating with the beat of your heart, nearly shaking the ground. It's my best bet. As you approached, the drums only seemed to get louder and more intense in their beat until you poked around the corner of a building and were met with a crowd of beastmen at the heart of the town. There was a platform set up with torches lit around it. To the side was an enormous drum where a wolfman played the steady beat. Standing up, aglow by the flames, was Koshiro in his white outfit. The stains of the mud you splashed him with before still caked in. Koshiro was kneeling, his hands tied together while two large wolves stood over him, keeping him in place. You nearly shouted his name until you realized it would have given you away. The entire crowd watched on with awe until the drumbeat finally stopped, and Koshiro opened his mouth to speak. You snuck a little closer, hugging the shadows of the building, hoping no one would notice you until you could hear the white wolf's voice. My kin, many of you may not know why you've been summoned here. It is late in the night, the silver moon high in the sky, but I have gathered for you all here for an emergency meeting. The elder looked down at Koshiro, who now seemed to be awake, though still looking just as worse for wear. He looked defeated, unmoving, not even bothering to struggle in his rope binds. He found that his mask was securely fastened upon his face, as though they still needed to shame him even further by going back to retrieve it. An incident has occurred tonight, one that threatens the honor of our village. The king, whom we have sworn to protect, was nearly abducted, nearly taken out of the safety of the village. The king's enemies lie in wait outside these walls, in the shadows, in broad daylight. There is no safer place for him here, yet someone within our village thought otherwise. The beastman you see before you in the circle is that man, the one who very nearly and likely would have put the king's life in danger. The crowd started to boo and shout vulgar insults in a tongue you had never heard. I knew it. I knew that the moment that cursed outsider returned, there'd be problems. He's a demon! The ground he walks upon spreads plagues through our fields. The very air he breathes is a curse upon us all. There was anger. There was fury. There was so much disdain and disgust just for one person. Everyone had it out for Koshiro, just as he told you. But this man was also appointed as the guard to the king, and with that, he was also in charge of his very life. Yet it was I that had urged the king to adopt him within the capital walls, to serve as his protector. This is partially my fault. I too deserve your scrutiny. The elder spoke over the crowd, and soon they all began to quiet down, dumbfounded at the idea that they would outwardly speak against their elder. We are not here to shame or chastise, but to learn the truth. There is nothing more precious than that. The elder turned away from the crowd to look upon Koshiro. As it stands, this is an act of treason, and as such, the penalty for that is death. Koshiro, depending on your answer, your punishment may be lightened. Speak. What was your reason behind attempting to abduct the king? Koshiro, silence will only make you look more guilty. If you have something to say, then now is the time for you to say it. Koshiro, say something! You quickly covered your mouth and hid in the shadows when a few curious onlookers turned your way. The young fox rose his head and looked right into the white wolf's eyes. You could feel his anger even from where you were, when just hours earlier he was complacently suppressing his emotions during the meeting. Have you really nothing to say for your actions? Koshiro, please! As much as you begged, you knew the fox wouldn't be able to hear you. Very well then. The gods have laid witness to this trial. Koshiro, for your dishonor of attempting to put the king's life in danger, you are sentenced to death. You stared in disbelief at Koshiro, whose head only went down in shame. Why was he not fighting? Why did he not say anything? I admire your resolve, Koshiro, to go against the village, to believe in your own sense of faith, however misguided it was. For many years you have protected the king and his family, but despite your accolades, this is an act of treason and cannot be overlooked. You will be given an honorable death for your services, a way to atone for your crimes to the village and the crown. Second, y'all. Water time. Alright, y'all, and we are back. Okay. You will be given an honorable death for your services, a way to atone for your crimes to the village and the crown. A wolf came over and laid down a small stand with a knife sitting upon it. Koshiro waved, and the two wolves holding Koshiro down let go and backed off, drawing their weapons just in case. Were they giving him a weapon to fight? Even then, that was such a small dagger. You will not suffer, Koshiro. He will assist if your cuts are too shallow. The wolf that presented Koshiro the dagger leaned forward and whispered something into his ear, then proceeded to step behind the fox and withdrew his sword. He angled it perfectly, so one strike would sever his head from his body. No, he couldn't. You could just see the animosity in the wolf's eyes. His mask did nothing to hide it. This wasn't going to play out as the elder said. If Koshiro was going to go through with this, then you thought this was a dream. That you were still back at Koshiro's home, or better yet, your own bed. But even after you pinched yourself 2, 3, 4 times, you didn't wake up. Koshiro reached forth and picked up the blade. Koshiro, you can't do this! The entire crowd was dead silent. You could clearly hear the soft sound of the sheath being removed and set aside. The flash of moonlight reflecting off the blade caught your eye every time the fox twisted it around in his hands. Koshiro, don't hesitate any longer. The gods are calling you. Koshiro put his arms out at full length, blade pointed right at his belly. The earth beneath your feet crunched as you readied yourself to run forward any second. He couldn't go through with this. He would never go through with this. What about your promise? He was supposed to be your Kingsguard, to always protect you, to get you out of this hellish village no matter the cost. The only thing keeping you from dashing forward was that he had some kind of plan. Maybe he really was going to escape. If you ran in now, you would assuredly be caught, and then... Can I fucking stay and watch you? No, you gotta run and help. Why is that one crossed out? Interesting. Run in and help. This was all sorts of wrong. Koshiro didn't do anything to put you in danger. He didn't even know what was going on. Even though he took you against your will, and you still trusted him. Koshiro! You dashed through the crowd, calling out his name, the wolves parting in surprise. Koshiro! Koshiro! You were quickly blocked off in an instant by a large wolf easily a foot larger than yourself. He reached out a palm to grab you, and you stepped out of the way. Boy! So this is where you ran off to! You recognized the wolf as the one who threw you in the elder's room and went back for you. To think you would stage such a scheme, escaping in the chaos of the very building you burned down. You had no idea the lengths I had to go through to find you. He reeked of smoke, and his outfit and fur were singed in many places. The look of utter rage in his eyes was only accentuated by his slightly melted mask. If you recalled correctly, he had to jump back into the house to get you. If you weren't a lowly human, I'd commend you, but your game ends here. Now you will come quietly, or I will use force. Get out of my way! You will not take a step further. You are attempting to interrupt a sacred ritual. You loosened the dagger Koshiro gave you and held it close to your body, ready to strike if you got close. Do not think that thing will hurt me, human. I will take you to the ground before you can blink. You gritted your teeth. He was right, but still you held your ground. So be it. Traitors will all receive the same treatment. You stared down at the long silvery sword 10 times the length of your own. One swipe from that and you would lose an arm, or worse, your head. Yet you still didn't back down, not with Koshiro just out of reach. In an instant you felt the wind blow past you, a silvery outline of the night that moved with such speed and grace, and then... Let him pass! You found your neck just several inches away from the blade, the wolf's muscles tensing as he had to make a sudden stop from decapitating you. His ears flickered backwards to the man that gave out the demand. A growl came out of his throat as he struggled to contemplate following through or obeying orders. I said, let him pass. The wolf finally relaxed, enough to draw his blade away from your head and move to the side, but still poised to react to any of your sudden movements. You moved around the wolf at a distance with your blade out in case he still tried to harm you. Once you reached the edge of the crowd, you nearly dropped your guard at the sight of Koshiro. He only stared at you for a moment, catching sight of the dagger in your hands. The life drained out of his eyes, and then he turned to look away from you, and back down at the short sword he was still holding. Katan! You struggled to pull your eyes away from the fox, but the wolf's striking silvery fur aglow in the moonlight and surrounding fire was impossible to ignore. Without thought, your hand gripped down the dagger even tighter. The white wolf's regal appearance had a strange yet deceiving grace, one that made you constantly wary of. Every time you met him, he always made you on edge. You couldn't figure him out. What he was going to do next, despite never raising a hand or blade to you. I heard that you caused quite a stir within my home. It was a very dangerous thing for you to do. It is a good thing that you escaped unharmed. His voice was soft and lofty, like he was talking to a baby. Koshiro, I demand an explanation. What is going on here? This doesn't concern you, Your Highness. Please, if you'd return back. I'm not going anywhere. You are likely tired. We can discuss this more in the morning for now. I don't want to hear another word from your mouth until you explain yourself. Why were we being chased? What do you mean I was in danger? What are you planning on doing to Koshiro? King Katan, I'm sorry to have to do this to you, but you leave me no choice. Please escort the king away from here into my other home. Make sure this time he doesn't cause an incident. You heard the wolf behind you begin to stir to action. You looked to your left and right as more wolves began to press forward, hoping to corner you. The crowd started to chatter amongst themselves, confused at the pace that things were going. This damned wolf. He was acting just like your father. Alright, gonna go ahead and pause it right there, y'all. We shall see what happens in the very next video. Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon or YouTube memberships if you can. It always helps. Anyway, I love you all, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye!